Hello and happy Naturopathic Medicine Week. My name is Dr. Griffin McMath, and I am here on behalf of the INM Ambassador Program, really trying to connect more patients and more of the general public to naturopathic doctors, and not just in a clinical way, but all of the different forms of outreach that they are out there performing, creating, doing, bringing you into naturopathic medicine. And so I'm really excited today that we have Dr. Shavon, who is a serial author, a naturopathic doctor, and so many other things if you check out her website. Like, did I see something about you are also a strategist for nutraceutical companies? I thought I saw something on there about you being an engineer as well.
Yes.
Would you elaborate for us?
Sure. Thank you so much, INM, for having me today, and Dr. McMath for the introduction. I am Dr. Shavon Jackson-Michel. I am a licensed naturopathic doctor. I am in the state of New Jersey. It's a pre-licensed state for naturopathic doctors, so I do work as more of a consulting role here, consultancy role. That's my naturopathic practice, where I focus more on fertility and women's health. I also work in the nutraceutical industry. I am a brand strategist for a ingredients firm. So what that means is like all of the actives, especially with the ones that have been supported by clinical studies, that have some kind of patent or innovation behind them. I have done a lot of work with just kind of doing the safety profile, doing the clinical profile, working with researchers all over the world. So that's been really cool. And, I'm a two-time best-selling Amazon author just as of recently. And my background, I did study engineering. I haven't done much of that lately, but it's back there somewhere.
What a background. And it's also such a testament to the fact that you can have naturopathic medicine can be your second career, and also that you can do so much with this degree. You can take it to so many different industries, which provides a lot of flexibility, a lot of creativity for those of us who, want to keep our days a little bit, keep us on our toes, keep us guessing what we're going to do for the day. So will you tell me a little bit more about this book? So I want to introduce those who have not yet heard of one of these best sellers books, the Black Family Health-o-Pedia community. When you look it up, you'll see that this book is written as a response to the growing health disparities within the African American communities in the U.S. The goals are to encourage a movement of greater holistic health awareness, empower the reader with knowledge that can be implemented immediately, and provide resources for the future needs of the community. What a powerful, powerful statement that is. As far as when you decided, because there's numerous authors on this book, is that correct?
That is correct. There's 4 authors, 4 naturopathic physicians. Yep.
And I want to make sure that we give them the credit here. And how did the 4 of you kind of come together over creating this compilation?
Yes. So this book, I believe it was like something that innately I've probably been putting out in the world for a long time, because even as a naturopathic student, I've always wanted to do something like this and kind of, contribute to the African American community, of course, which I am part of in this way, understanding that naturopathic medicine can do so much for a lot of the underlying conditions that I see among family members and friends. And Dr. Trisha Hamilton kind of was the one who initiated this entire project. The Black Family Health-o-Pedia was going to be like a compendium, actually, of books, starting out with kind of this general wellness book, and then kind of maybe going into some specialty, books. And so I was among these first 4 naturopathic doctors to be in this, general book. It kind of came together, we actually pulled this together within a year. And each of the naturopathic doctors kind of took the area where they have, their special interest, or where they focus most on patient population. And we contributed to that chapter. So There are, I believe, like 8 or 10 chapters in the book. This is cover the book. There's about 8 or 10 chapters in the book. And what we've done is there's diabetes, there's hypertension, which are two very predominant conditions in the African American community. I wrote the chapter on women's health and also being a diligent dietary supplement consumer, because we know there's so much available. And since I'm in that industry, I thought I could give some guidance about how people can do that well, if they're doing it on their own, and then where and when to see a naturopathic doctor to help them do it right. There's a chapter on having a village, like a support system, and how much that's important, to overall wellness. There's a chapter on pain, and there's also a chapter on mental health. And so, Dr. Tasha had a vision of kind of looking at each of those areas, and the structure of the book is really presenting the lay of the land, like what the problems are and what the disparities are, because we're talking about areas in which there are higher rates of either mortality, higher instances of death caused by these diseases, or morbidity, where there's more chronic suffering from these conditions and degeneration from these conditions. And so we look at that, we kind of lay the land, we talk about all the statistics at the beginning. Of course, as naturopathic doctors, like root cause is everything. So we dig a little bit into root cause. And this is written for like the average person. So sometimes people have no idea why these things might be prevalent in their family, in their family history, why this has been a generational thing. So we talk about not just, oh, it's in your genetics, but why? Like, are there lifestyle things that are passed down, not just genetics, but like how we actually do things, how we eat. We talk about like socioeconomic aspects. We talk about inherent, even racism within the medical community and how that has taken a toll and how that has had a historical impact. So we move from what it is to underlying causes and how you can start looking at this in a comprehensive way. We do talk about some of our naturopathic tools, how you can start to address some of those underlying conditions as a self-care, right? So what things can you start today? And so each chapter gives you some aspect of self-care, what you can start to do, how you can, Dr. Tasha talks about in one of her chapters, like have a salad every day, like just having fiber can just increase, your amount of, good nutrients that you're getting in, and magnesium and fiber, and how all of that can help diabetes and hypertension. And I talk about like, hey, focus on greens, green leafy vegetables, super important for hormone metabolism. So things that people don't really maybe know or pay attention to that they can start themselves. And then we talk about some naturopathic things, like what a naturopathic doctor would do that would go above and beyond self-care, and why they would want to seek out a naturopathic doctor, how we would dig a little deeper, what other tools we could bring to the table. And then we give at least 1 or 2 testimonials, our experiences in our practice, and we share some of the successes that we have had using naturopathic medicine in those areas.
That is so profound. And I love the fact that you start out saying, okay, here's where you can really take ownership over or take this into your own hands. Here are the proven things that you can do as far as self-care is healthcare. And then beyond that, there's this preview you get of here's what you can expect. And to me, that's especially beneficial. Dr. Trishaw said earlier today, talking about different backgrounds, different demographics who are very hesitant to seek out healthcare because of historically how they've been treated. And so from hearing this, I wonder too if there's that's especially powerful to put in this book, to say, hey, we just want you to know what to expect and kind of put it out there now so that and it's not some kind of hidden thing of like, well, what's it going to be like? This is what you might expect when you're working with a naturopathic doctor.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, Dr. McMath, and what you're saying is so true. Is especially because this is a new area for so many people, naturopathic medicine, period. Like most, people have been under the care of their primary care doctor, they've been to specialists, they kind of understand how the conventional model works. And so to step into something new, not only is that level of, anticipation, anxiety around that, but then having, like you said, this kind of historical backing of, what might make them a little bit, you know, tread a little lighter, now knowing what to expect. So I actually never thought about it that way, but I do see that as even healing in and of itself, because it's lowering that expectation anxiety before they even get to a naturopathic doctor.
What has been the response after this book has been published? Because I saw that it was published back in November of last year in 2019. What has been, and really it was like, what, a handful of months, if not right before, our world has changed so much, and people are spending a lot of time at home, and which we'll get into may or may not have led to the creation of another book. But what was the response after November, after you published it?
The response was actually pretty amazing. I mean, even when we launched the book, we were able to establish like Amazon bestseller in a number of different categories within the first like 48 hours of the book being launched. Yeah, it was so super awesome. And then even, within our own communities, each of the authors had done book signings, where they're from. Mine was done, in not too far from the neighborhood that I was actually raised in New Jersey. And so to see people come out from my university and, just friends of friends and family members of friends. And, it was, people felt really, heard in a way, understanding that they know in the African-American community that these things are pervasive, and almost feeling like they're, there's no hope in a way, that they're just going to be on certain medications forever, or there's no way, beyond a medication. So I just felt like it was a bright light, and I felt like it actually brought a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration really for other people to not only see for African-American women doctors putting together something like this, but actually putting something together that could help the communities that they were from. And I think that, for me, as I said, this is always something that I wanted to do. And I never knew or vocalized that to any of these authors. We actually met each other in this process. I knew Dr. Hamilton a little bit before, but they never knew. But all of us felt so tied to this project because it almost felt like something that we were eventually supposed to do. And it just happened that we did it together.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. So you published it, you get this amazing response, immediately bestseller categories in a variety of different categories. You do book signings in the area that you're from and receive overwhelming support and kind of affirmation that this was so needed. And then boom, the pandemic hits. And we're all spending a lot of time together in closed spaces, which can aggravate some of those exact health conditions that were in that book. And so because that started to happen, how did that make some of you reconnect, some of you authors reconnect and move forward on something else?
Sure. So again, I have to give credit where credit is due. The brainchild of Dr. Hamilton, this idea for this quarantine kitchen cookbook, we just happened to be in a conversation and, people just hearing other conversations around us about people being tired of their own recipes, tired of cooking, not having access to some of their favorite restaurants. And actually, that saying that was kind of gaining a lot of momentum, which was the quarantine 15, that everybody was putting on those extra pounds, which, was definitely an element of stress for all of us with an unprecedented situation. But at the same time, just being home and just having, that what do you call it, almost like going stir crazy in a sense, and hoarding in a sense, because we were so unsure of
Right.
what the outcomes of this whole thing would be, and stress eating, and I mean just so many levels, like you said, of things that people had never had exposure to in such a very small bite size. And so all of these the conditions, which are very lifestyle related, that we had wrote about in the first book, as you said, you put on an extra 15 pounds. Well, guess what? That's about two, that can increase body weight a whole 10%. And then you have an increased risk of, a number of different chronic conditions. So 15 pounds might, can't get in your pants, but it actually can set you up for a lot of chronic conditions, and people don't realize that. So I think out of that, we were all cooking as naturopaths, and food is medicine for us. And I think the large majority of us have learned to cook or like to cook, or it's just part of like our habits for the large majority of us. So Dr. Hamilton said, hey, I have this idea. What do you guys think? And so actually this was a larger cohort of naturopathic doctors. And I believe there's one other holistic health practitioner. She's not an ND. But she said, a couple of recipes, like the things that you are literally cooking at home. Let's put them together. Let's take some nice, iPhone camera shots, nothing fabulous. And then we all put together, like, again, in our area of expertise, talking about now food as medicine. And you see, like, there's over 30 recipes in this book. There's literally the iPhone pictures from our kitchen tables, our cutlery, our dishware. It's just really it's an experiential book, I think. And then, we talk a little bit, some of the authors do give it a little insight as to like why this recipe is of significance for them, or why their family loves it. Or maybe it just has a, interesting health component within the recipe that they wanted to share, a different take on oatmeal, for instance. One of the authors has she calls it oh boy, I actually made it, golden oatmeal. And it has, like turmeric and ginger and all kind of like funky stuff in there that even I've never had before.
Right.
Tasty, you know what I'm saying?
Dazzled over right there.
Exactly. So it's I consider it an experiential book because there are recipes in there. You get to learn a little bit about us as persons outside of doctors. Again, and like I said, you get pictures from our home, literally, and it was kind of fun too, because you cook for your family, but I've never written a recipe.
Right.
So, to like actually do it and measure, and you're like, well, wait, I do put a little extra salt in here. Like, maybe I me think about how to do this a different way.
Put a whole bulb of garlic in there.
Exactly. I was like, this is a lot of stuff going on. Exactly. So like when you actually are making a recipe and realizing like, hey, or how many servings, to make this, if you're a single person, I'm cooking for 4 people and a couple of men in there. So these are bigger recipes. So all of this was really fun, I think, on the author side. And I think it gives a book that's really, it's a beautiful book. And it's called the Quarantine Kitchen Cookbook. So if nothing else, it's a positive memorabilia from this crazy time.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
You said something that, as a fellow naturopathic doctor, I hear this, and the exercise of stopping while you're cooking and measuring what you would just normally kind of do, to me sounds like the next level diet diary. So often, naturopathic doctors will send their patients home with a piece of paper and say, take a diet diary so I know what you're actually eating over a 3-7 day period. And to me, I'm just writing, I had a salad with da 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 in it. But if I had to, someone said, I want you to stop and make a recipe for everything that you eat over the next 3 days, I feel like that would be way more of a realistic peek at what I'm actually consuming. And I can see how that would be pretty eye-opening you know, even as a doctor who thinks that they might eat healthy, and maybe that's the case, but it's such a, like I said, next level diet diary.
It is. It's totally. Yeah, it's a little it was a little intimidating. So I don't know if you want to do that for 3 meals. Okay.
You know, because that's the other part of this. A lot of places are still not fully, you know, I would say most of us are not really fully out there or back to some kind of normal. So it's not like that publication stopped being relevant, you know, come summertime. We are still in a time where, those are recipes. They will always be relevant and they will always be great. But knowing too that those kind of positive projects that we can come together, even if we're very far apart, and that build some kind of positive memory in a time where there is so much uncertainty. So what a multiple times over beneficial endeavor that you really took out of 2020 and said, we're going to do something good with this. So thank you for doing that. And to your co-authors, wherever all of you may be, for investing that time and energy. My question for you, maybe as we kind of come to a close here, is as someone who has such a deep CV and resume and growing book list, what is next for you, if I may be so bold to ask?
Oh, okay. So, well, in the area that I am carving out as a naturopath, you know, I've been, I would say, a more traditional naturopath, meaning kind of covering all bases for my career is now about 11 years. So for a large part of that, I was pretty much applying naturopathic medicine to whatever came through my door. But more of late, I always loved women's health and I kind of geared that way. But more of late, I've really kind of honed into that and am trying to build out a practice that is very much supporting fertility, which is infertility is a growing area of concern. So the expansion of that in a variety of ways. I am working on a course for fertility couples in terms of enhancing fertility. So I'm excited that should be kind of coming into culmination before the end of the year. So I hope to be launching that course.
Everyone stay tuned.
Stay tuned. And, you know, I'm still doing my work in the nutraceutical world. And, you know, in that world, we have a number of ingredients that I have helped to kind of bring to the playing field. A couple of them I've recently done some press releases on, and one of them is super exciting, which has to do with fatty liver, which is also a growing area of concern. And so I'm very excited to see this product ingredient going into some of the naturopathic doctor line. So when that does, I'll have a really big smiley face because I kind of saw this from its infancy, and hopefully to see it used in our community to help people will really be gratifying.
Great. Okay, so your course that's going to be coming out, and people need to watch drshavonnd.com, right?
Right.
For
Yes.
this course, which I love this. It's a couples fertility course, which really drives home that fertility is a couples endeavor that is not on one party or the other. So couples fertility course, and then also this product regarding fatty liver, which, you know, we talked about food and diet during quarantine and the pandemic, but another thing that was really triggering for a lot of people was substance use, and the number of people who were hospitalized or relapsed during this time. So something else that's kind of resurfacing as a really relevant health topic for 2020. So you are covering all of those. So thankful that you took some time to talk with us today, and really hoping that all who are watching visit her website, check out the different resources that she has, read into more of her bio. It is mind-blowing and so impressive, and we look forward to hopefully talking with you soon about maybe this couples fertility course. So
Perfect. I would love to. Thank you so much. Take care.